I have to talk this one out. I was listening to a very interesting conversation about, where the world's headed and whatnot. And per usual, it's not anything all of us don't know, but it was beautifully articulated in that it gave a very clear path. So people who are overwhelmed or confused by so much that's going on and can't seem to get out of their own way and just live in that fright, that fear, that, fawn, whatever, they can listen to somebody like that and hear it more clearly. And yet what I noticed was, I just thought the whole thing was so interesting. Okay, how do I get this out? I don't think this person is an egomaniac, although I think he does have a big ego, more than he realizes. And that's for all of us. We all think that. And he so wants to be seen as the hero and the good guy and attempts to do such in his life through big and small. And he does do beautiful work, and he is to an extent. But here's what I'm trying to get at. In listening to part of this conversation, per usual, I can't sit through all these long conversations, and I realized he was adding fright and fear in. And in my thought, it was unnecessary. It was like, look, this isn't anything new. It's the same pattern, same dynamic. It's been over and over and over again, generation after generation, century after century. And we all evolve and grow and we adapt or not, right? Or we become extinct. Like, so what? Like, then trust in your higher self, trust in the goodness of the universe, trust in, whatever. Like, I'm not saying don't do your part, but also, are you being the hero when you're adding in that fright and that fear? And don't get me wrong, I do believe there's a fine line where, in other words, some people do want to just bury their head in the sand. And so it's like, okay, I hear you and I agree that there's a fine line. But here's where my conversation with my guides got interesting for me was, there are people like him who want to shout, no, there's a problem and we need to fix it. And here I have all the answers, or I have some of them. Let me help. Let me be the hero. And it's like, well, those who want to focus on it because it's so important to them, let them. But you don't need to introduce fear into the masses unnecessarily. It's like you're stirring up and causing fear. Why? And that was where I was like, why is that? Why the big knowing that all always ends up working out to one degree or another? And the main point is to stay aligned and have your priorities straight. And they showed it like, well, it's part of the fact that he's an egomaniac. It's like, because he does want to be seen as the hero. He does want to be seen as the counsel. He has, and that's his rhetoric. Well, I've helped so-and-so over the years, right? Like that's that ego of like, let me tell you how important I am. And I know part of it is to give him validation so people will listen, which is important. It is. And part of it is ego. And so it is kind of comical to hear this. And they were showing that it's like, he does do good work and it is important, but instead of bringing it to the right people, he can't always get in front of the right people. So he will scream it to the masses, and screaming it to the masses adds fright and fear into the masses. And it has the masses scream louder. And when the masses scream louder, then the people who won't call him into the room will say, fine, bring the jackass into the room who caused all the fucking ruckus. And then he gets to be the hero. Oh, see, look, I saved the day. If I didn't tell everybody, right? It's like, oh my God. And so this kind of cycle is happening all the time. This isn't a new pattern or a new rhythm or new, this is what a lot of people do. This is why it's like, we don't really know what's going on or see what's happening. We're shown one thing, right? Oh, he's bringing awareness. He's articulating it so well. He wants to help. He's forewarning. Is he? Or is his ego out for his own self? And not that that's bad. We do need to take care of ourselves. We do need to take care of our families. But ultimately, he's sand like the rest of us. We're all going to go at one point or another. And he wants to be seen as the hero when he goes. But how much of that hero was built because he caused so much of the fear and dilemma and fright to make him the hero, like causing the problems to then step in and solve them. This happens all the time, but people aren't seeing it that way. They're just having the fear riddle them, and then from the same person who then steps in and says, let me soothe this over. Well, let's hope you do, motherfucker. You're the one who introduced it. Before you came along, I was fine, right? But people don't hear that or see that part. They just, oh my God, he's right. Oh, and he said that so well. That is what's happening. And then all of a sudden he has a solution. Oh my God, this man's a genius. What a hero. Thank goodness for him, because God couldn't have done anything. The world could. We wouldn't have survived without this, right? But this is what, I know I'm being dramatic, but this is what happens a lot of times. So start to think for yourself. Start to slow down. Start to connect with yourself. We do have to take action. We do have to balance ourselves. We do have a fine line. We do have to take heed. Shit happens. All this stuff is true. And we do need to have our priorities straight. Many of us do not, and we get swayed one way or the other. I like to be comfortable, not just physically and in my clothes and that kind of thing, but I mean in my home and my surroundings. I like everything neat and tidy and looking nice and calm. All that is important to me for my mental and emotional state. And so sometimes I will prioritize putting money into things, right, that make me more comfortable and calm me down. And one could argue that's a good investment, but there's times I will do it when it's you know what, that shouldn't be the top priority right now. You think it is because it's the immediate fix that'll calm you down, yet once you have that fix, are you going to be happy you spent that money on that? Right? And let me tell you, there's been many a times where that's been the case for me, and I've been like, motherfucker, I didn't need that damn thing. But let me tell you, I was certain I did. I was certain. And if anybody suggested I didn't, I thought they have no idea. Right? Because to me, I don't buy these things. I could give a fuck if you ever see my house or think anything of me. But I need to be comfortable. My mental and emotional state needs to be comfortable. And quite frankly, there's many people who would see my home and my surroundings and be like, I could never live like that, right? They expect much higher, right? So it's all relative. And I'm not worried about the outside. I'm worried about the inside. But I'll trick even my inside in not having the correct priorities, the correct alignment. And again, in due time. In other words, there's a time and a place. There's times when it's it's fine. That is important for your mental and emotional health. And it's fine to spend that money at this time. It's beneficial. It's a good investment. And there's other times where no, you're putting on a Band-Aid and you're trying to excuse it and justify it, right? And we have to know that within ourselves. And I know I'm using that as a silly example because I want you to hear that we do that on a much bigger scale at times too, where we will stick our head in the sand. And then there's other times where other people are ripping our head out of the sand unnecessarily, right? So it's make sure you're in charge of you and you're making your choices, because you're going to live in your consequences. You're going to live your life. And so don't get steered by somebody else who wants to be the hero in your life, or don't be steered by all the outside noise. Don't ignore it to the point where you're not taking necessary precautions, right? That's what I mean by that fine line. But you're responsible for you, so you do have to decide. Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.